Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into one of the hidden gems of the muscle car era, the 1971 Pontiac GT-37. While everyone has heard of the legendary Pontiac GTO, this more affordable sibling managed to pack nearly the same punch without the hefty price tag. With its raw performance and stripped-down style, the GT-37 has become one of the rarest and most unique cars of its time. Stick around as we uncover the fascinating story behind this budget-friendly muscle car that dared to go toe-to-toe with the big players. When the Pontiac GTO first burst onto the scene, it brought the muscle car era as we know it with it. From 1964 onward, Pontiac kept iterating on their new muscle car darling, stuffing it with bigger engines, better suspension, and better brakes. As a result, performance increased massively in just a few short years, but that increase came at a cost. Prices of the GTO had to climb to keep up with inflation and to offset the cost of the newly acquired performance tech. While the GTO was a premium muscle car, Pontiac did not want to lose out on the younger customers who couldn't afford it. They wanted to give them a slice of that GTO performance for cheap. As such, they built the ultimate stripped-down Pontiac performance machine, a car that had 90% of the performance of a GTO without any of the extra frills. For many, these cars may have been a better choice than the Pontiac GTO itself. This is the story of the incredibly rare 455 HO-equipped 1971 Pontiac GT-37. To put it in perspective, many of you probably haven't even heard of the GT-37 because it was actually a pretty low production model. It was technically a trim package for the Pontiac T37, which was basically a Pontiac Lemons with even fewer options. It was unveiled in 1970 as a gateway car into the Pontiac brand. So much cost-cutting was done with the base model T37s that their sticker price started around just $2,600, making it even cheaper than a base model Chevrolet Chevelle, which had historically been the cheapest mid-sized car offered by GM. Undercutting Chevy showed that Pontiac meant business. But the base T37s were by no means performance cars. At $2,600, you got an inline-six that could maybe sneak up on a Pinto, but that was about it. At the low price range, it was purely a utilitarian vehicle. However, since Pontiac took so much out of their T37s, it gave them a pretty expansive options list that buyers could explore and add on to their own car. For the buyer that valued speed, there were plenty of choices to add to turn the lowly T37 into a budget brawler. In 1970, when it came to engine choices for the T37, there were 3 V8 options, the Pontiac 350 and 2 Pontiac 400s. The 350 made a modest 250 horsepower, and the 400s made either 265 horsepower or a whopping 345 horsepower in top trim. This put the T37 just 15 horsepower behind the big 360 horsepower 455 cubic inch GTO of the same year. Coupling these engines with the optional GT37 package brought the distance between the T37 and the GTO even smaller. The GT37 package was a trim package for the base T37 that added a whole new personality to it. It featured an option of 3 different bold side stripes that ran along the side of the car, depending on when the car was produced. It also had GT37 badging on the rear fenders, the grille, and the deck lid for a more austere appearance. A 3-speed floor shifter manual with a Hurst shifter was standard as part of the GT37 package. GT37 equipped cars also got dual exhaust cutouts and the actual exhaust system from a GTO, hood pins, and some nice optional wheels that added muscle car credibility to the budget bruiser. Buyers could choose from plain colors all the way up to vibrant ones like Cardinal Red and Tropical Lime. A rear deck spoiler was also available for extra flair. These exterior upgrades ensured that the GT37 looked every bit the part of a budget-friendly GTO alternative, helping it stand out from T37 cars with the inline-six. The gap between the GTO and the GT37 narrowed even further in 1971. Under the hood, the 350 Pontiac V8 and the mid-range Pontiac 400 remained, but the 345 horsepower 400 from the previous year was replaced with a 455 cubic inch engine that made 325 horsepower, now making the GT37 just 10 horsepower lower than the 455 HO engines in the GTO. Oddly enough, Pontiac allowed customers that year to get the 335 horsepower HO 455 from the GTO and the GT37. Only about 50 people opted for this engine in the GT37 rather than just getting the GTO. Nonetheless, those who did got one of the fastest muscle cars of 1971, with 450 plus foot-pounds of torque at its disposal. This car was a rare gem. The standard 3-speed manual stayed for 1971 in GT37 cars, but you could also pair it with an optional 4-speed M20, M21, or M22 manual or a turbo 400 automatic. Safety track rear end was also available with optional gear ratios spanning the performance-oriented 3.55, 3.90, and even 4.33. An overwhelming majority of 455 equipped GT37s were sold with the 4-speed, but a handful left the factory with the automatic. Manual cars could achieve low 14-second quarter-mile times, and high 13s were well within reach for the HO cars. 4-wheel drums were standard, with power-assisted discs being an option for the front, while the powertrain underneath the GT37 was almost identical to the GTO. Its suspension was not. The GTO was a much more compliant handler than the GT37, thanks to its added rear sway bars and better suspension damping. The GT37, to make up for the lack of a rear sway bar, used stiffer rear springs, which didn't work as well and gave the car a rougher ride on the street. Although the GT37 represented great value for the dollar, when optioned with the bigger engine, the 4-speed, and some other goodies, the prices could climb into the $4.000 plus range, which brought it close to the GTO. That somewhat defeated the purpose of the budget-friendly GT37. At lower trim levels, the 350-powered GT37s were a good value per dollar, but at higher levels, buyers were swayed by the GTO's prestigious name for only a few $100s more. In 1971, about 10.000 GTOs were sold, while just around 7.000 GT37s were sold from 1970 through 1971. Production ended in 1972, and Pontiac replaced the GT37 with the Lemons GT. The Lemons GT continued the GT37's concept of sporty styling and strong performance but leaned more toward an upscale vibe. By the mid-1970s, even the Lemons GT was overshadowed by the shift to personal luxury cars, and the writing was on the wall. Though its time was brief, the Pontiac GT37 remains a testament to Pontiac's ability to deliver performance to all buyers, even those on a limited budget. Its rarity, especially with the 455 HO models, makes it a highly prized collector car today. The GT37 encapsulated the ethos of the muscle car era: bold, brash, and built to thrill. For many, the GT37 represented a gateway into the world of performance cars. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed learning about the rare and remarkable 1971 Pontiac GT37, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to share it with fellow car enthusiasts and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the history of iconic vehicles. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest uploads. Have any stories or memories of the GT37 or other muscle cars? Drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your engines revving and your passion for cars alive.